Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the A segment of episode 1 of Codename Kids Next Door, Operation CAKED. We begin this segment at a mansion where we see many kids are guests for a birthday party, and we soon see that they're singing a birthday song, but their voices indicate that they're not happy in the slightest. And the birthday kid, or rather I should say the birthday kids, are a group of 5 kids known as the Delightful Children from down the lane. And after the song is finished, the Delightful Children say that they'll proceed to eat their birthday cake while the guests will only watch the Delightful Children eat the cake, and they want the kids to sing the song again. Suddenly, number 3, number 4, and number 5 of the kids next door infiltrate the mansion, and they unleash these stink bombs in order to get the party guests to leave the mansion. Number 2 tries to enter the mansion through a window, but he ends up slamming into the window instead, and so he doesn't get in. Number 1, though, enters the mansion through the door, and number 5 gives number 1 a status report. The party guests have left the mansion, they know where the cake is, and they even neutralize the party clown. So number 1 intends to talk to the Delightful Children, and the Delightful Children figure that the kids next door have arrived to steal their birthday cake, and they indicate that this isn't the first time they've done so. This is something that's been done in the past. And number 1 confirms, yes, that's exactly what the kids next door are here to do. They think that it's not right how the Delightful Children hog the birthday cake all to themselves and rub salt in the wounds by forcing others to only watch the Delightful Children eat the birthday cake. So number 1 tells them, though, why don't they just do this the easy way this time around? Just the Delightful Children should just hand over the birthday cake and the kids next door will leave. But the Delightful Children say they want to play some party games, and they insist that the kids next door stay to participate in these party games. So the Delightful Children lock up all the exits to the mansion, and number 2, he doesn't get into the mansion when the locks take place. So number 2 is locked out of the mansion. And number 1 has number 4 to try other methods of convincing the Delightful Children to just hand over the cake and not try to hold them hostage. But the Delightful Children reveal that there is one party guest left, a girl named Laura, who's excited to play some party games. But when number 4 tells Laura that there's no time for party games, Laura becomes notably upset because she is a big fan of party games. And this causes Laura to transform into the Big Badolescent, so a play on the word adolescent, and the Big Badolescent proceeds to attack number 4, demanding that they play party games. And the kids next door realize they have no choice but to go along with the Delightful Children's party games for the time being. So they proceed to go to the game room, and the Big Badolescent is happy to hear that they are going to play party games, and she changes back into Laura. So the first party game is the Delightful Children have trapped number 1 in a piñata, and although at first they have number 3 blindfolded try to open the piñata, the Delightful Children encourage number 3 to the Delightful Children tell number 3 the harder she hits the piñata, the more candy will come out of the piñata. So number 3 ends up hitting number 1 a lot with a baseball bat, but when she peeks to see if any candy came out of the piñata, Laura turns into the big Badolescent, and because she's not happy about the no peeking rule being broken. So number 3 offers the big Badolescent a turn, and the big Badolescent uses number 3 as a bat and also hits number 4 and number 5. So yeah, the pinata is open, and Laura, changing back to her normal form, Laura enjoys the candy. Oh, and number 2 is shown trying to enter the mansion. He's trying to saw off the bars on the window. So next up, number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 5 are now pinned to a poster of a donkey for the pin the tail on the donkey game. And the delightful children have Laura try to pin the tail on the donkey with a high-tech like a rocket launcher or something like that. But number 1 is able to convince Laura not to play the game just yet, because he says, why don't they open the birthday presents first and start with a red present, which the delightful children don't remember having a red present, but Laura finds it and urges them to open this particular present first. The delightful children try to convince Laura that they should finish the pin the tail on the donkey game first, but Laura is about to transform into the big Badolescent, so the delightful children begrudgingly agree to open the present first. Or rather, they actually read the little, I guess you could call it a card or tag on the present, which mentions the kids next door taking battle stations. So this was a distraction for the kids next door to set their plan into motion. We see there's a giant knife outside of the mansion, and the knife cuts the mansion in half. And on the side of the mansion that the kids next door are on, there's a bunch of hamsters there's a bunch of hamsters and some rope. So the hamsters are going to pull that half of the mansion away so the kids next door can make their escape. And the kids next door have the cake with them, and they say that the party's over to the delightful children. Laura, though, turns into the big Badolescent because she doesn't want the party to end. So as the big Badolescent, Laura is holding down the side of the mansion that the kids next door are on, but the hamsters are trying to still walk away. But eventually, the tugging eventually causes the kids next door to lose their grip on the cake, and it falls on top of the big Badolescent, who changes back into Laura because she's happy to eat some birthday cake. So the kids next door still escape, even if they don't take the cake with them, and number 2 chases after them. He still didn't get into the mansion by the end of this. The delightful children, though, are furious and think that they'll try to find some other means to counter the kids next door's next attempt to claim the birthday cake rather than the big Badolescent. But then Laura tastes the cake and she realizes that it's coconut flavor, and she does not like coconut flavor. So the segment ends with Laura turning into the big Badolescent and attacking the delightful children over coconut-flavored birthday cake. So there you go. We have Codename Kids Next Door as the next series that will be discussed on this channel. And we've now discussed the A segment for the first episode. Although I should mention, even though this is the A segment, the first segment that airs whenever episode 1 airs, it actually isn't the first segment that was made for Codename Kids Next Door. There was a pilot instead that was released a year before Codename Kids Next Door before it was formally premiered as a TV series. And there was another pilot as well for what Codename Kids Next Door would have been like if it didn't become the show we know it as now. And those two pilots are actually the B and C segment for episode 1 of Codename Kids Next Door. That's right, episode 1 actually is split into 3 segments rather than 2 segments or full episodes in the case of some later episodes. So this segment was quite short. It was significantly shorter compared to the usual segments for Kids Next Door, but I still think they managed to get the important beats across. Like, we got a general idea of what a mission for the Kids Next Door is like, and we did get a pretty good idea of some of the personalities. We didn't go too deep into them, but I think the main personalities of the Kids Next Door operatives were covered. Well, except number 2, he kind of got left out for this particular segment. And I do think the other pilot, one of the upcoming segments for episode 1, I think that gives a better showcase of the Kids Next Door operatives' personalities, the 5 main ones anyway. But I think this was still overall a good start, or a good segment that's at the start of the series. And this segment does introduce the delightful children from down the lane, they're definitely one of the main villains of, if there are any villains that you would consider the main villain of Codename Kids Next Door, the delightful children would definitely be one of the contenders for that title. Or at the very least, they would definitely be the Heavy. That's the villain who the villain with the most action during a story, or the villain that does the most legwork, essentially. Because the delightful children are the most frequent villains, and they are kind of like evil counterparts to the Kids Next Door, or the 5 main operatives of the Kids Next Door. They're even voiced by most of the Kids Next... the delightful children are all talk in unison. They're 5 kids, but they talk and act like one kid. That's kind of their the main thing about the delightful children. They would be what you would call the individual. That's what you would refer to multiple characters that act like one character. And they talk in unison. So it sounds like the 5 main Kids Next Door operatives talking in unison. Well, actually not all of them, because Laura Limpin, who is number 3's voice artist, she doesn't share the role of the delightful children for some reason, but the other 3 voice artists for the 5 main Kids Next Door operatives, because number 1 and number 2 actually share the same voice actor, by the way. So, for some reason, number 3's voice artist doesn't share the role of the delightful children, but the rest of the Sector V voice artists do. That's it. The 5 main Kids Next Door operatives actually form a sector called Sector V, probably a reference to the fact that V is the Roman numeral for the number 5. But season 1 in general has a lot of early installment weirdness to it. Like, season 1 has a very different feel compared to the rest of the series. Season 1 has a very different feel to it. And one of those examples is season 1 mostly just focuses on Sector V. Although, to be fair, later episodes of season 1 do kind of bring up how the Kids Next Door is an organization that's global rather than just the 5 main operatives. So we will cross that bridge when we get to it, but that is one of the early installment weirdness moments we see in this segment and in season 1 in general. This segment also had some examples of early installment weirdness where number 4's first name is said to be Wallace, even though later episodes establish it as Wallaby. And as for the delightful children, in this segment, they refer to themselves as I and we, or my and our a few times, whereas I think in later episodes they more consistently refer to themselves as we and our, or they use those type of pronouns. So that's another example of some early installment weirdness, but it is interesting to see how the show changed from where it started compared to how it ended up later on. And actually, while I think about it, even though this is supposed to be the one of the segments for the first episode, I actually remember that this segment actually wasn't the premiere episode or the premiere segment for the series when it formally premiered as a TV series. I noticed a lot of episode guides on various websites listed as premiering on the series' premiere date, but I actually remember it premiering later on, like several other episodes aired before this segment aired on TV, and I did think that was pretty amusing. But so I'm gonna try and tackle the episodes in production order. If I can find any, there might be some weird inconsistencies on the production order, but I am going to try and cover the series in production order. I should mention that as a heads up. But otherwise, I think we've covered the essentials for now. Like I said, it's actually a shorter segment compared to most segments for the show. So they do kind of don't have as much time to explore certain details, but I think overall they still were able to kind of cover what a mission for the kids next door is like, and I think it was a good introduction for the delightful children. And that's another detail, I guess. The big Badolescent, naturally, as the recap indicated, the big Badolescent was an affectionate parody of the Hulk, because Laura was actually a pretty nice kid, but whenever she got angry, she transformed into a form where the characters would wish that they didn't make her angry. Yeah, I had to make that reference, but yeah. So Big Badolescent was a reference to the Hulk, and that's right, Big Badolescent actually is another example of the early installment weirdness for Season 1, because Season 1 had several members of the Rogues Gallery who only really had major roles within Season 1. Like, they still might appear in later seasons, whether being mentioned in dialogue or appearing in a cameo, but Big Badolescent is one of the members of the Rogues Gallery whose major appearances were mostly within just Season 1. And there will be some other members of the Rogues Gallery where that happens, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So overall, yeah, while it was a pretty short segment overall, I still think that it still did well at kind of being a good introduction or starting point for the series. And like I said, it's pretty cool to see how the series changed from the first episode compared to the rest of the series. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing more of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. But for now, there we go. As of this video, we've now discussed the A segment of episode 1 the A segment of episode 1 of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. Take care, and until next time.